Two terrifying, true-feeling stories. You'll regret listening to Alone, Hollow Creek, and the rest stop. Story 1. The Lantern at Hollow Creek. Welcome to Midnight Movie Recaps, where every story you hear was meant to stay in the dark. Tonight, two tales that blur the line between the real and the unreal. The kind of stories whispered by those who swore they lived through them. Turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and remember, once you enter, there's no going back. This is The Lantern at Hollow Creek, followed by The Man at the Rest Stop. I've always liked the quiet. After 40 years of welding, the silence of retirement felt like a blessing. No sparks, no clanging metal, just the hum of the wind through the trees and the distant croak of frogs down by Hollow Creek. My name's Henry Caldwell. I'm 64. I live alone on an old property in Tennessee, just me and my dog Rusty. My wife Maria passed from cancer 7 years ago, and both my kids live too far to visit often. So, it's just us now. Every evening when the sun slips below the hills and the crickets start their choir, Rusty and I take a walk around the back of the property. It's our little ritual. Helps me sleep, or at least it used to. The creek cuts along the back edge of my land, maybe 200 yards from the house. There used to be a wooden footbridge that crossed it, built back in the 80s when I worked for the county electrical crew. We'd haul cables across it when the floods hit. A storm wiped it out years ago. All that's left now are 2 rotting posts and the faint smell of damp earth. It was on one of those quiet nights that I first saw it, a small, dim yellow light flickering in the dark by the water. At first I figured it was kids camping, but the nearest house was half a mile away, and no one had any reason to be out there. Still, I chuckled, called for Rusty, and went inside. I wish I hadn't. The next night, same thing. Same glow, same spot. It wasn't a flashlight. It swayed, slow and steady, like an old oil lantern carried by someone walking knee-deep in the creek. Rusty started to growl, low in his throat. The hair along his back stood up like wires. "Easy, boy," I muttered. Probably just reflection. But I couldn't shake the unease gnawing in my gut. By the third night, curiosity won. I took my binoculars from the porch and trained them toward the water. Nothing. Just that single ghostly glow moving between the trees. When I mentioned it to my neighbor, Martha Klein, she gave me that look country folk give when they think you've stepped in something spiritual. "Henry," she said, voice low, "don't go near that creek after dark. People see things there they ain't meant to." I laughed it off, told her I didn't believe in ghost stories. But when the clock struck midnight that night, and I glanced through the kitchen window, the lantern was there again. Only this time it was closer. I spent the next day trying to distract myself in the shop, welding old scrap just to feel normal again. But the smell of burning metal brought something back, a memory buried deep. 38 years ago, a man named Eli Turner drowned in Hollow Creek during a thunderstorm. We were both working that night, repairing downed electrical lines near the bridge. Eli carried an old miner's lantern instead of a flashlight, said he didn't trust batteries. He slipped on the wet planks, hit his head, and the current took him. I still remember the sight of that lantern bobbing down the creek, the glow fading into black. The county called it an accident, but I never stopped hearing that splash in my dreams. That night the lantern appeared again, brighter than before, maybe 50 feet from my back fence. Rusty barked like crazy. My heart started hammering. Could it be someone reenacting it? Or was this something else? By midnight I'd had enough. I grabbed my flashlight, slipped into my boots, and stepped out onto the grass. The night was cool, heavy with mist. The crickets had gone silent. Rusty followed but stopped halfway down the slope, whining. "Stay," I ordered softly. The closer I got, the more I could see the lantern's glow reflecting off the water, yellow, soft, almost alive. My flashlight beam cut through the fog, landing on the creek's surface. That's when I saw him. A figure half submerged, standing in the current. His clothes hung heavy with water, his shoulders slumped forward. He held the lantern up, and its light fell across his face. Pale, bloated, eyes like white marbles. My chest locked up. The man's expression was empty, but his lips twitched like he was trying to form words. "Eli," I whispered before I could stop myself. The thing tilted its head, water streaming from its jaw. The lantern flickered, dimmed, then flared bright, blinding. When I shielded my eyes and looked again, the creek was empty. Only ripples remained. I stumbled back to the house, shaking. Rusty barked until I slammed the door shut behind me. My clothes were soaked to the knees, though I hadn't stepped into the creek. I barely slept. Every creak of the house sounded like footsteps, every gust of wind a whisper from the water. When the morning light came, I told myself I'd imagined it. Stress, grief, maybe old memories playing tricks on me. Until I walked to the porch. Sitting on the railing was a small brass tag. Weathered, rusted, engraved with, "Property of Eli Turner, Electrical Maintenance 1987. I dropped it like it burned me. That night I locked every door and window. But around midnight, Rusty started barking again, this time toward the barn. I looked out, and my stomach turned to ice. The lantern was inside. Its glow flickered behind the slats, shifting like someone pacing inside. Rusty growled low. I grabbed my rifle, but before I could take a step, the light went out. The next morning, I found muddy footprints on the barn floor. They led in a circle, then stopped right where I stood. No exit prints, just a dark puddle that never dried. I don't walk at night anymore. The house feels colder, heavier somehow, like something's still watching. Rusty sleeps by the door, ears twitching at every sound. Sometimes when the power flickers during storms, I catch the faint reflection of that lantern in the window. Always the same pale glow, always waiting near the creek. If you ever find yourself near Hollow Creek and see a light swinging in the dark, don't follow it. It's not looking to guide you home, it's looking to take you back. Story 2, The Man at the Rest Stop. My name's Samantha Dale, and I've driven across more states than I can count. I'm a traveling nurse. My work takes me wherever the need is. Nursing homes, rural hospitals, disaster sites. It's not glamorous, but it pays the bills. People think long drives at night sound peaceful, and they are sometimes. The hum of the tires, the radio low, the moon hanging over an empty road. But loneliness can do strange things to your mind. It can make shadows feel alive. This happened 3 years ago, somewhere in Montana, just before winter. I'd just finished a 2-month contract in Idaho and was driving to Oregon for my next post. I'd been on the road for 7 hours straight, running on caffeine and sunflower seeds. It was nearly 1 a.m. and my eyes burned from the highway lights. My phone signal had dropped miles back, and the GPS was frozen on a blank green screen. Outside, fog crawled across the asphalt like smoke. When my gas light blinked on, I groaned out loud. There hadn't been a gas station for almost 40 miles. Then, through the fog, I saw a glowing blue sign, "Rest Area, 1 mile." It felt like a blessing. I pulled off the highway and followed the narrow road that curved between pine trees until the rest stop appeared. A small concrete building with 2 bathrooms, a few vending machines, and one lonely streetlight flickering above the lot. There was one other car parked there, a black sedan idling under the light. I parked near the far end, grabbed my bag, and went to the restroom. The air was freezing inside, and the lights buzzed overhead. The sound echoed against the tile, every step louder than it should have been. I washed my hands and splashed water on my face just to stay awake. That's when I heard it. Slow, steady footsteps outside. I froze. The door creaked, and the footsteps stopped right behind it. I waited, barely breathing. Then, silence. When I finally opened the door, the lot looked empty again. But the black sedan was still there. Engine off now, no lights, just sitting under the street lamp. I walked quickly back to my car, pretending not to look at it. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw movement. Someone leaning against the sedan, tall, wearing a jacket and a cap. He wasn't doing anything, just watching. I started the engine and drove off, my pulse thudding in my ears. After 15 minutes back on the highway, I felt stupid for being scared. Maybe he was just resting. I turned on the radio, tried to distract myself. That's when I saw headlights in my rearview mirror, 2 bright orbs, steady, following from a distance, then closer. The shape of the car was impossible to mistake. Black sedan, same wide headlights. I tried telling myself it was coincidence. Maybe he was heading the same way. But every time I changed lanes, he did too. I turned off at the next exit, hoping to lose him. The road wound toward a 24-hour gas station beside an old diner. As I pulled in, my hands shook on the steering wheel. The same car rolled in behind me and parked 2 pumps away. The man got out. He wore a dark hoodie this time. I couldn't see his face. He didn't pump gas, just leaned against the car again, pretending to scroll his phone. Inside, the gas station clerk looked barely 18. He had long hair tucked under a cap and earbuds in. I forced a smile. "Hey, does that guy come around here often?" The kid glanced out the window. "That one? Yeah. He's been here a lot lately. Doesn't buy gas, though. Sometimes just sits for hours." My stomach turned. Did anyone report it? He shrugged. "I don't know. Probably just some guy killing time." I stayed inside longer than I needed, pretending to browse snacks. When I looked again, the man was gone. Relief washed through me like a drug. I paid, went back to the car, locked the doors, and sat for a while, just breathing. Finally, I started the engine and pulled back onto the road. The highway was silent again, the moon bright enough to turn the fog silver. I convinced myself it was over, but then, maybe half a mile later, I saw headlights behind me again. This time, the car followed close, uncomfortably close. Every curve I took, it mirrored me. My hands were slick on the wheel. After 5 minutes, I pulled onto a wide shoulder and braked. The sedan slowed too, then stopped 30 yards behind me. No movement, no exit, just idling. My heart hammered. I threw the car in gear and took off again. Another 20 minutes passed before the car finally turned off onto a dirt road and disappeared into the trees. I drove until I found another rest area, bigger this time, with several trucks parked in rows. I parked between 2 semis and locked the doors again. Exhaustion hit like a wave. I told myself I'd nap for an hour, then finish the drive. I must have dozed off because the next thing I remember is a tapping sound. Knuckles lightly rapping on glass. I jolted awake. A face hovered by my driver's side window. The man smiling faintly, holding something up. It was my wallet. "You dropped this," he said. His voice was calm, polite even. I stared, too stunned to speak. He stepped closer, fingertips brushing the glass. "Didn't want you to lose it. You should be careful out here." I realized then, I must have left my wallet at the previous station. He'd followed me all this way to return it. But why not hand it to the clerk? Why follow me through 3 exits? "Thanks," I managed, voice shaking. "You can leave it there." He didn't. Instead, he whispered, "You shouldn't drive so tired. There's a motel up the road. Room 9's open. You'll be safer there." My throat went dry. "How do you know that?" He just smiled wider. "Because I checked." I slammed the engine on and floored it. The sedan's headlights exploded behind me, bright as day. He followed again, closer than ever, high beams flooding my mirrors. I swerved around a bend, tires squealing. Ahead, the road split, right toward the interstate, left toward an old town I didn't recognize. I took the left, hoping to lose him in the turns. The road narrowed, hemmed in by trees. Then, silence. No headlights behind me. For a moment, I thought I'd done it. Then my engine sputtered, gaslight flashing. I cursed out loud. I'd meant to refill at that last station, but fear made me forget. The car rolled to a stop in front of a boarded-up diner surrounded by weeds. No lights, no signs of life. I sat there in the dark, shaking, watching the road behind me. 5 minutes, 10, nothing. Then, faintly through the fog, came the sound of gravel crunching. Headlights reappeared, low, crawling toward me, the sedan. I killed my engine and ducked down, crouching in the back seat. My phone showed no service. The car stopped behind mine. The driver's door opened with a long creak. Footsteps, slow, deliberate, circling the car. Crunch, crunch, crunch. He stopped at my window. Something metallic tapped the glass. I held my breath. Then, the sound of the trunk opening, followed by a dragging noise on the gravel. I don't know how long I stayed frozen. Time felt elastic. At some point, I saw the faint red glow of brake lights as he got back in his car and drove away. I waited another 10 minutes before even sitting up. When I finally stepped outside, the air was ice cold and the fog thicker than ever. There were footprints circling my car, large boots, looping twice before leading into the woods. Behind my car in the gravel lay my wallet again, opened, empty. I didn't think. I just ran, down the road, anywhere, until the diner disappeared behind the fog. Then, in the distance, flashing lights, red and blue. A state trooper pulled up beside me, rolled down his window. "Ma'am, you all right?" I tried to answer, but my voice broke. He got out, calmed me down, asked where my car was. When I told him, his face changed, serious, sharp. "We've been getting calls about a man in a black sedan," he said quietly. "Been targeting travelers along this stretch. Pretends to help, then follows them. You're lucky you didn't stop again." They drove me back to the diner. My car was still there, doors open, trunk pried slightly. No sign of the sedan. The trooper shone his flashlight on the ground. In the dirt near my car, half buried under gravel, was a small silver keychain shaped like a motel number tag. Room 9. A week later, I was in Oregon, still shaking every time headlights appeared behind me. The police said the man was likely still out there, maybe moving from state to state. They never caught him. Every time I drive at night now, I check my mirrors more than the road. Sometimes I swear I still see that same pair of headlights in the distance, matching my every turn. I haven't stopped for gas after midnight since. I'll run on fumes before I ever pull into another rest stop alone. Because out there, on those long, empty roads, you never really know who's behind you. And the scariest part, sometimes they're not trying to pass you. They're just waiting for you to stop. If this story kept you looking over your shoulder, don't face the darkness alone. Subscribe to Midnight Movie Recaps for more true-style horror that crawls under your skin and stays there. Hit the bell as the next nightmare drops at midnight. Until then, keep your doors locked and your lights just a little too dim. Fade out with faint echo. Midnight Movie Recaps, where nightmares never sleep.